Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how basically SaaS coin system works. As you can see here, this is basically a really simple project just to show you how the coin system works. So we are going to use Next.js and also Stripe to basically make a payments. So as you can see in here, it is basically really simple. And I'm going to buy some coin. As you can see, I can buy 10 coin for $5. So if I click that, it will redirect me to the checkoutstripe.com, and as you can see here, I can buy this package right here for $5, and I can put an email, for example, chan@mail.com, and for the card information I'm going to do 42. This is just for testing only, and I do whatever number it is, and for name I'm going to put my name, Chandra, and if I hit pay, it will redirect me to the localhost 3000 slash successful. It just remove that successful parameter by default. And as you can see, we have payment successful. Coin will be added to your soon. As you can see, my coin now is 19. And if I go back to transaction, and here, as you can see, if I refresh, it should be have a new transaction from the Chan. As you can see right here, Chan@mail, right? This is successful. And yep, my coin is 19. Of course, I can use the coin. As you can see, the coin is decrement by 1 basically. And yep, this is how the SaaS coin works. You can implement this on your next project if you want. And I'm going to show you how simple to create something like this. So yep, I'm really excited for this video. Hope this is helpful, and let's get started. So first we need to generate the brand new Next.js application. I'm going to call this simple SaaS coin system. TypeScript, I'm going to say yes, ESLint yes, Tailwind yes, source directory I'm going to say no, app router yes, TurboPack yes, and import alias say no. So let's cd to simple SaaS coin system folder, and inside in here I'm going to open that inside Visual Studio Code. So let's first create the simple UI. I'm going to remove all this div inside the page.tsx, just remove all of that. And I'm going to return main tag right here and add this class name. So this class name is basically will make sure all the element inside that main tag will be on the center. If I do heading 1 and main will be on the center. So let's try to do npm run dev. So now as you can see, the main text is going to be on the center because we set the flex right here, minimal hit to screen, and the flex column, item center, and justify center. Great. So in here, I'm going to create card basically. So let's do div with class name. The width, I set that to full, maximal width to medium, padding 6, background white, rounded large, and shadow to medium. And inside here, we have the heading 1. Let's say SaaS coin system, and as you can see, we have that title. Let's also add just a little class name on the heading 1. Paste that right here. As you can see, text to XL, font to bold, margin bottom 6, and text into the center. Here we go. And under the heading 1, I'm going to say a div right here. And then let's put p tag. This is basically just render the coin value. As you can see, your coin available is from this coin state. So let's try to create that state on the top right here. State, I'm going to call this coins. And then because we're using useState in here, of course, this component should be a client component. Let's set this component to the client by put the useClient keyword on the top right here. And then by default, I'm going to set the coin into 0. And then as you can see, should be lowercase coin like this. And then we're using that like so. And also inside this div, I'm going to add class name. I'm going to add the margin bottom to 6, padding 4, background blue 5D, rounded medium, and text to center. As you can see, this is what we have. And also under this div, I'm going to basically create 2 buttons for a buy and use coin. So that button should be wrapping inside this div that have class name. The display should be display grid column just 1 column, and then gap 4, margin bottom to 6. And inside in here, basically we have 2 buttons. So let's try to say button, and then basically we have 2. The first one should be kind of like buy 10 coin for $5, and the other one is going to be use 1 coin. So let's try to add class name on this button. Class name set equals to, I'm going to put this really simple styling, padding Y23, padding X4, background green, and etc. Let's take a look what we have. As you can see, we have this beautiful green button. And also let's add another styling for the use one coin right here, class name set equals to, and I just want to paste this really simple styling as well that have background blue 600. Let's take a look. Here we go. Nice. So now let's add on click event on this button right here on the buy 10 coin for $5. I'm gonna put the on click event and then paste this handle by coin function. So let's create that function on the top right here, cons handle by coin set equals to arrow function. So because this function will make a post request on the API, I'm going to change this function to async function like this that have try and catch. So let's do try, and down here we have the catch. So inside the app folder, I'm going to create another folder called API slash create checkout session folder, and inside that we have route.ts file. So in here I'm going to export a async function called post because we are going to make a post request, and inside that I'm going to use try and catch. Try catch like this, and then for now I just want to return the next response.json like this, and I just want to put the object right here. I'm going to say success is true, just like this, just for example. So let's try to go back to page.tsx right here, and let's try to make a post request on that route. Okay, so in here I'm gonna say cons response set equals to await for the fetch, and then I'm gonna put this URL API slash create checkout session, and then we need to send basically the method. The method that we're gonna use should be post request, and then down here I also need to send the headers. So inside the header, we need to send the content type application slash JSON. So let's just paste that right here, content type application slash JSON. So let's try to make a post request. Let's see the network on the inspect and then network right here. Let's take a look what happened if I click buy 10 coin for $5. Let's click that. And as you can see, it's make a post request and we have success to true because on right here on the road, we're setting that to success true. So now basically we need to make a payment, right? So we are going to use Stripe to do that. So let's go to the Stripe website right here, right? I hope you already have an account. If you're not, just create account, really simple. After that, you will have this value right here, API key. You have publishable key and you have secret key, right? So the first thing is we need to put that value on the environment variable. So let's do .env like this. So I'm going to create two environment variable right here, Stripe secret key and next public Stripe publishable key. So let's just copy this publishable key, copy that and just paste that right here, just like that. And also we need to just copy this secret key. This is really secret. Just make sure you put that without using the next public. If you're using next public, this will expose on the client side. If you're not using that, like we're doing on the Stripe secret key, this will secure. That means we can just access this on the server only. Now let's go to the documentation. I already opened that like this, as you can see here on the get started and then accept payment. We are going to use this one right here, Stripe host page. You can use embedded form, you can use embedded component and etc. So I just want to use this Stripe host page. Really simple way to do that. So here I'm going to install the package Stripe right here. Let's copy that and then open terminal. I'm going to open another terminal here, just paste that, npm install Stripe. Just wait for that. Great, it's done. So now let's take a look what we need to do next. So here this will be redirect your customer to check out Stripe. The way we do that is pretty simple. I'm going to click this line items right here, right? Just make sure you click that. And then here you will go to the docs.stripe.com/API/checkout and etc. So this is basically the way we make a checkout, right? So let's try to just copy this right here. I'm going to copy that. Just copy it and then go back to road. And then just try to paste that inside the try right here. Just paste that like this. So basically I like to initialize this Stripe on another file. So let's do that on the lib folder. So I'm going to create lib folder. And inside that we have stripe.ts file. Just like this. So here what I'm going to do, let's import the Stripe from the Stripe. And then what I'm going to do, let's first check if we don't have the process.env. what the name of the env bar here, Stripe secret key. So I'm going to copy that name, paste that right here. If we don't have that value, I'm going to return an error. So here I'm going to say true new error. So I'm going to put error message that say missing Stripe secret key. And then down here, I'm going to say const stripe set equals to new stripe. And then I'm going to put the secret key value inside that stripe. So let's put this process.env.stripe secret key. Just put that like this. And then I'm going to use the API version. Let's try to use 2025, this one right here. And then finally, let's try to export the stripe. So you can say export default stripe. So now we can use this stripe to whatever we want. Let's try to use that right here. Just import that like this, come from the lib/stripe. And as you can see, it's basically a wait for stripe.checkout.session.create. So here we need to basically create the price, right? So let's try to create the price first. I'm going to go back to the dashboard of the Stripe. And then let's go to product catalog here. Let's try to create our catalog, right? So for this example here, I just want to archive this product first. So you will get the clean active right here. So we have 0, right? Let's try to create product. Click this create product and then you can give any name you want. So I'm going to give a name this SaaS coin package, something like that. And you can upload image. I'm going to upload this image right here. Just open it and it will just upload that image. And then here you can put any amount you want. So in this case, I'm going to say $5, just like this. Oh, anyway, I'm going to use this one-off. You can use this recurring if you want. It's basically kind of like a subscription, right? You can select the billing period to monthly, weekly, daily, yearly, whatever. But I want to select this one-off, basically $5. The item is 1. Great. So now let's click this add product. Great. So now we have this product right here. Just click that product. And then here, as you can see, we have this price, right? Click that price. And then this is basically the price ID. So I'm going to copy that value. Let's go back to environment variable. Let's create another environment variable right here. So I'm going to call this stripe_price_id set equals to that ID, just like this. So now we can use this stripe price ID environment variable to that route right here. So just replace this price right here to that value. So we can say process.env.stripe price ID, just like this. And the quantity, of course, is going to be 1. So as you can see, we also have the success URL. This basically will redirect user after user successfully make a payment. So now let's try to see what we have on the session variable here. So I just want to return that on the next response.json right here, like this. And then let's try to make a post request. So I'm going to click this one right here. As you can see, it's make a request on the create checkout session. It's make a post request basically. And then on the response, we have the session. And then as you can see, we have all these value from the Stripe. And then what we are going to use is basically this URL right here. This URL right here. As you can see, this is basically a long URL. So we're going to use that URL to make user redirect to this URL. Let's try to make a next response right here. I'm going to say URL set equals to session.url, just like this. And then now we can get that value on the page, right? So here I can say like const, and then we can grab the URL set equals to wait for the response.json. All right, so now let's just try to console log that value. Hopefully we get that value, right? Console log URL. And then let's try to make that request again. Let's click that. And then hopefully, as you can see, this is the link. If I click it, it will redirect me to the checkout Stripe. As you can see, here we go, right? That's beautiful. So I want to do this automatically. That means if I click this, it automatically redirect me to this link. So how we do that? It's pretty simple. So first I'm going to check if we have that URL. In here, I'm going to set the window.location.href into that URL. It will change that URL right here to URL come from the response of the API basically. So if something wrong happen, I'm going to do inside this catch basically. So let's try to say error like this. And then I just want to paste this console error buying coins, and then put that error variable just like that. So now let's try to make a payment. So here I'm going to try to click. As you can see, it will redirect me to the checkout.stripe.com/pay and this long URL right here. As you can see, now we can make a payment. So because we on the testing environment, of course, we can make a payment basically. So let's try to do that in here. So for the email, I'm going to say example@mail.com. And then for the card information, there is a value which is 4242 to make a fake payment with a Stripe basically. So you can put a random number in here. It doesn't really matter. The name, I'm going to say John Doe. And then the country, whatever you want. And if I click pay, now it will redirect me to the success page that I create. As you can see here, it will redirect me to the localhost 3000/success to true. This is basically what I put on this road, I believe. This one right here, right? Success URL is this link right here. So that's why I redirect that back to the home. User is successfully make a payment, but we not store any value to the database, right? So let's try to initialize the Prisma. So I just want to close everything here. And let's try to basically install Prisma. So let's open terminal here, and I just want to say npx, not npx, npm, I believe, npm install Prisma. Right, just hit enter, and now we can initialize the Prisma. We can do npx prisma init, and we can use this dash data source provider. We are going to use SQLite basically. So let's hit enter. It will generate the Prisma folder, and as you can see inside in here, we have the schema.prisma, and then we have the SQLite. If you want to change the provider, you can just change that whatever you want. It's just really simple to do that. So for now, we are going to use SQLite. This is really simple to set up basically. And if you open the environment variable, this is basically the database URL. I just want to remove this comment right here. Here we go. Pretty nice. So now let's try to create the really simple schema. So for the schema, I just want to paste this really simple schema that basically we have three model: user, payment, and coin used. As you can see in here on the user, we have ID, by default is UID, and coin is basically by default 0, and we have payment and also coin use. On the payment, we have this ID and this user relation, and we have amount is float, coin is integer, Stripe ID is unique, and status we have pending, completed, and failed. Also, we have created ad right here. And then we have coin use. As you can see here, we have user that have relation right here, and also we have coin use and created ad. This is just really simple schema. You can just post the video and just write with your own. All right, after we create the schema, so now we can say like npx prisma generate. Right, after we do that, we need to run npx prisma dbpush. So let's wait for that. Hopefully this is works. Let me wait for that. And here we go. Great. So now we can say npx prisma dbpush. It will push that schema to the database. So now we can say npm run dev. And then I'm going to open another terminal here and just run npx prisma studio, right? Just to see the database on the Prisma Studio. Here we go. As you can see, we have the user, payment, and coin use. As you can see, everything is just empty. So the next thing is we need to create the db.ts file, right, inside the lib. Let's go back to lib, and then let's create file called db.ts, and then just copy and paste this export Prisma right here, right? Just that's it. And then the Prisma client, it should be come from the generated Prisma right here. It's not come from the Prisma client packet, but it's come from the generated /Prisma. Right down here, what we're going to do is we need to create dummy user basically, because we're not working with any authentication. This is just for example. So I'm going to create a dummy user. So here I'm going to say create dummy user. Right. So I'm going to say export cons get current user. It's going to be set equals to error function. So basically, this is just for tutorial purpose. We are always using the same user because we are going to wait for the Prisma in here. I'm going to change the component, the function into the async function. And then in here, I'm going to say cons. We get the user from the await to the Prisma dot user dot let's say user dot find first, just like that. So if we don't have any user, right, if we don't have the user, what we're going to do, let's create new user. So I'm going to say cons, or just return prisma dot user dot create, right? We're going to create new user in here, and then I'm going to paste the data. And then here, I'm going to send the coins into 0 by default. This is just for example. So let's go back to route.ts. So basically in here, we are going to store the data into the database. So first, I'm going to get the user, right? So we can say like cons and then user set equals to await for the, what the name of the function on the DB right here, get current user. Yep, we can use that. Get current user like this, just run that function. And then now we can get the user.id because on this user, we have the ID basically by default is UID. So that's why in here we can get the ID. So I think we can just, if you don't sure, you can just console log the user right here. You will get the response on the terminal, right? So let's try to click the buy 10 coin right here. If I click, let me see what happened. As you can see here on the terminal, it's basically show the user that have an ID, coins, create add, and update add. Here we go, right? So let's go back to the road, and then here basically we are going to store the data into the database. So first I just want to create a variable on the top right here. Let's create price amount. By default is 5, which is $5. We have coin to give. By default is 10 coin for $5. And we have price ID. Price ID is basically the Stripe price ID from the environment variables. So let's put that like right here, right? Just like that. And then now, after we make a checkout session, what we're going to do in here is we need to create pending record. So I just want to copy the comment right here. As you can see, create a pending payment record. So I'm going to say await for the Prisma. It's come from the lib/db. And then we are going to get the payment table. And then here I'm going to say create. So what we are going to create is, let's put data, and then I'm going to make sure the user ID, it should be come from the user.id, right? Come from the get current user right here. And then we need to send the amount. The amount that we need to send is basically price amount, right? Which is in this case is $5. That's for the amount. And we need to send the coins. So how much coin is basically coin to give, which is 10, right? I just want to copy that, paste that like so. And then also let's put the Stripe ID. Stripe ID is basically come from the session. So we can put session.id. This is basically the Stripe ID. And also the status. In this case, I'm going to put pending. And we have the error right here that say, so I think the problem is going to be on the db.ts because on this function, we not return anything, right? So down here, we have to return that user, of course, return user just like this. So now we can use that user on the road right here. So of course, we don't need to use this equals. It's fine right now. As you can see, there's no error. Pretty nice. So for the catch, I just want to paste this console error right here. The error should come from this catch. So let's put that like so. As you can see, if something wrong happened, it just console error creating checkout session and return this next response that have error and status basically. Great. So let's go back in DB. So not DB, but page, right? So basically here we can get also the error because here on the road, we also send error. That's why in here we can get the error. So we can say like error and URL like this. So now we also can check if error happens. So we can say like else if the error have a value, just do whatever you want in here, right? So basically I'm going to create another state for the loading and message right here, as you can see. So I'm going to put that on the top right here, right? Set loading to true. And then down here, after the finally, okay, after everything is done, I'm going to set the loading back to false. And also if something error happen right here, I just want to put this set error to error and then put the error value from the URL from the route right here, right? And also is if the cat is have an error, also I'm gonna set the message to that error basically. So let's put that right here, failed to initiate purchase, just like this. So now let's put the message value on the UI, which is down here. So I'm going to check first if the message have a value. I'm going to render this div that have the background gray 100, rounded medium, and text to center. So also the loading, right? The loading, we need to render that because in here it's not used for now. Let's try to use that on the button. So first I'm going to make sure this buy 10 coin button, it should be disabled if the loading is true, just like this. So we can put disable set equals to loading. And then for the text, I also want to change that. So instead of just render this buy 10 coins, I'm going to make a condition in here. If the loading is true, show processing, and else show this text as well. And also for the use one coin, I'm going to also add disable on the button. So let's put disable set equals to if the loading is true or the coin is less than 1. That means we don't have any coin. Of course, we cannot make a use coin, right? This will be disabled. And also I'm going to change the text right here to if the loading is true using processing, else using use one coin. Okay, I think the UI is done. Let's try to see what happened. So let's try to refresh this one and let's try to make a payment. As you can see, if I click, we have that loading, right? And it will redirect me to the checkout Stripe. And then here, let's put example at mail.com. Let's put 424242. This is basically for example. You have to use 4242 for the card basically. If you're not using this, it's not gonna be works. But for this date right here is up to you. CVC is up to you. It doesn't really matter. Say John Doe again. Let's click pay. And after that, it will redirect me to the success. As you can see, this is successful. And then I believe now we should see, as you can see here, we have the user, which is one user that have one payment, right? Because we already make a payment. And then as you can see, this is the payment that we have amount 5, coin 10. This is the Stripe ID. The status is pending for now. Yeah, the status is still pending because we're not working with the webhooks for now. Just leave it like that, it's fine. So how we show the coins, basically user already make a payment, right? But the coin is still a 0. So let's try to see how we can render that coin right here because by default it's still 0. So now let's create another function. I'm gonna call this fetch user data set equals to arrow function. So inside this function, we are going to make a get request basically. So that's why I'm going to change this to async function, just like that. And then what I'm gonna do, let's try to use try and catch like this. Inside the try, I'm gonna say const response set equals to await for the fetch. And we're going to fetch the route is going to be inside a /API /user dash data. We don't have yet, but we are going to create that later. And then here I'm going to say const, we get the data set equals to await for the response.json, just like that. And now here we can say set coin, right, into the data.coins, just like that. So we put the new coin on this coin state basically. So if something wrong happened, I just want to console error fetching user data. So the error variables become from here, just like that. So we need to run the fetch user data inside the use effect because we need to run that on the first time render. So let's do that like so, and then put the dependency to empty array, just like this. So now let's try to create the user data row. On the API, let's create a folder called user data, and then file called route.ts. So this is basically just really simple get function. As you can see here, we make a wait for the get current user, and we have the user value, right? And then just return the next response.json. We get the coin from the user.coin. Just really simple. So now if I go back in here, of course, we still get a 0, but the 0 here, it should become from the API network. And then as you can see, we got the user data, and then the coin is 0. If I change that to, for example, 3 or 5 or 10, maybe hit enter. Let's say 10, and then click save change. We cannot do that, right? Because this have relation. We cannot do that. Yeah, we cannot directly change that because we have payment. So if you want, you can just go to payment and then just remove this payment, delete one record. And then now go back to user, and you can say like 10 and save that. And now it works, right? If I go back right here, if I refresh, as you can see now the coin should be 10. Just that's it. I just want to remove that, make it to 0, just make sure that works. So the question now is how we can update the payment status, because as you can see here on the checkout right here, we set the status to pending, right? And then after the payment is successful, we have to change the status to done, basically to complete basically. And also we need to update the user coins. If you see on the schema, we need to also update the user coins because by default is 0. So we have to do that inside the webhooks. So let's try to go back to the Stripe right here, and then click the, I believe, developers, and then webhooks, right? So in here, so as you can see, I already have this local listener. So let's try to click new. So I'm gonna click this add local listener, click that, and you have to basically make sure you follow along these 3 steps. So first you have to download the Stripe CLI. Just click this link right here, and it will redirect you to that page right here. You can just install the Stripe CLI. You can use Homebrew, apt, yum, scope, macOS, Linux, Windows, and etc. Just follow along. It's pretty simple. You have to enter login and just follow along. It's pretty simple. And after that, you have to run this one on your terminal. Okay, I want to copy that and then open my another terminal in here. Let's try to run it. And as you can see, I have to change basically the local host right here. And I just want to make it bigger so you can see clearly. As you can see, it's called Stripe listen dash forward to local host, because I'm using Next.js. I should run it on the 3000/API/webhooks. Just like this. We don't have yet the route, but we're going to create that later. For now, let's try to hit enter, and hopefully it's running. As you can see, it's getting ready, and then as you can see, it's ready, right? Great. So now let's try to create that webhook route. I'm gonna close everything here. Let's go to the app and then API, and then just make sure you follow this route right here, API/webhooks. So that's why I want to say API/webhooks. So here I'm going to say webhook/route.ts. So in this route, I'm going to create post function like this. And then the first thing is I'm going to get the body. So I'm going to say const body set equals to wait for the request dot text. And then next thing is I'm going to get the signature. So I'm going to say const signature set equals to await for the headers, just like this, right? And then I'm gonna say dot get, and then what we need to get is basically Stripe signature. So we can say Stripe dash signature. This is going to be string, so I'm gonna say as string like this. And then if the signature is doesn't available or undefined, I'm going to return the next response like this .json, and then just send this error. So I'm gonna say error missing Stripe signature, and also I'm gonna send the status. The status is going to be, let's say status, I'm gonna set that to 400, just like that. And also down here, let's try to do the try and catch. So I'm gonna say try, let's say catch, we catch and we grab the error just like this. So inside the try, I'm going to create variable called event set equals to, I'm going to say Stripe. Stripe is going to become from the lib/Stripe. I'm going to access the webhook and also access the construct event. And inside this function, I'm going to send the body. Body is going to become from the request on the top right here, right? Request.text. And also I'm going to send the signature, and also I'm going to send the Stripe webhook secret. So you can access that inside the process. .env .stripe underscore webhook underscore secret, and this is going to be string, so let's just put a string like this. All right, and also the next thing is we need to create variable called session set equals to event, right, dot data dot object. And then this should be have type Stripe. Let me import Stripe from Stripe and dot checkout dot session, just like this. Great. So now we need to check first if the event, all right, if the event dot type is equal to checkout session completed. All right, I'm going to do something inside that condition. So in here, basically, we can get the user ID and also the coins from the session.metadata. Why we can get this value? Because as you can see on the create right here, basically, we send that data to the session, but we don't yet sending that. So let's try to send. So basically in here, I'm going to send metadata set equals to object, and then user ID set that to user.id, and then coins into coins to give, which is this 10 right here. So if I send metadata on this Stripe checkout session, we can get that value into the webhooks right here. So we can get that from the session.metadata and whatever the value, right? In this case is user ID and coin. So that's why in here we can get the user ID and also the coins. So now we need to check if we don't have the user ID or we don't have the coins, we need to just return next response.json, and then as you can see, just error missing user ID or coins, and the status is 400. And finally, down here, we can update the payment status. Remember on the create checkout right here, we set that the status to pending, right? So in here, we need to make sure the status is going to be completed. So I'm gonna say await for the Prisma dot payment, right, payment table, and then we are going to use update function in here. So we need to make sure that the where is going to be have Stripe ID is equal to session.id. So after we get the specific Stripe ID, what we are going to do is let's update that data. So here I'm going to make sure the status is going to be changed that to completed, just like this. What we need to do next is we need to add coin to the user, right? So let's just make a comment in here, add coin to user. And what we are going to do is let's await for the Prisma. And in this case, we are going to get the user table, user, and then I'm going to say update. So here I'm going to make sure that we are going to put where the ID, right? The ID is going to be equal to user ID. And then we need to send the data. So let's make sure that we get the coins. And then what we are going to do is we need to increment the coin, right? So we can use increment and then just put the coin. So I'm going to say parse integer and just put the coins like this. Just like that. So the coin should become from the coins right here, right? Come from the metadata that we send right here. And then now we can just send the next response. So down here, I'm going to say return next response.json receive to true. Just that's it. And also if something wrong happened on this catch, what I'm going to do is just paste this really simple console error. As you can see, console error, webhook error, and just render the error right here and return next response.json error webhook handler failed, and the status is 400. But remember in here, we paste the Stripe webhook secret, right? Just check on the environment variable we don't have yet, so let's create that environment variable, Stripe webhook secret, and the value is basically what you see on the terminal, which is this one right here. Your webhook sign-in secret is this one right here. So just copy everything, just make sure you copy all of that in bold text right here, just copy that, and then just paste that to this Stripe webhook secret, just like that. And now we can use that webhooks basically. So I believe on the documentation there is I believe, let me go back to the documentation here. As you can see, we can trigger the event with CLI. I'm gonna copy that, and then for example I'm going to just comment this Prisma right here and trying to console log, right? Let's try to maybe console log fire or something like that. Console log fire, and then I'm going to open my iTerm, and then let's try to run this command right here. Stripe trigger payment underscore intent dot succeeds. Right, I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see, what happened now is on this terminal that is basically running, right? The webhook is run, and then as you can see here, we should see that down here, right, on the on the npm run dev, we see this fire basically. So this console log is running. That's pretty nice. And also, as you can see in here on the webhook, we have 200 requests. That means it's successful post. Great. So now let's try to make a real payment. So let's try to uncomment this Prisma, right? And then let's try to make a real payment. So I'm going to go back to my localhost 3000. All right, so first just make sure this URL should be just localhost 3000 without any parameters. And now let's try to make a payment. So I'm going to click this buy 10 coin for $5. And then as you can see, I'm going to put the email, let's say example@example.com. It doesn't really matter. And for the card information, I'm going to say 42. Just put whatever you want in here. It doesn't really matter. Let's say John Doe again, whatever. All right, so now let's try to click pay. As you can see, after I doing that, now the webhook will running. We on the localhost 3000. As you can see, the coin is 10. And of course, if I open the localhost 555 right here, if I refresh, as you can see, the coin is 10 right now, and the payment is completed. As you can see right here, right? That means this webhook is running. That's pretty nice. So now how about the handle use coin? As you can see on the localhost right here, if I click use one coin, nothing happened, right? Because we not put any trigger on that button. Basically on this button, use one coin here. Where is that? This one right here. We don't put any on click event. So let's try to working with that. So I'm going to put a function called handle use coins. So let's create the function on the top right here. Let's do cons handle use coins that equals to arrow function like this. And in here, basically, we are going to make a post request. So I'm going to make sure this function, it should be async function. And in here, I'm going to say try and catch. So let's do try and then catch. We catch the error here. Let's grab the error just like this. So instead of try, what I'm going to do is let's create response. So let's say cons response that equals to await for the fetch, right? We're going to fetch the /API/use coin. I'm going to call that like so. We don't have yet the road, but we're going to create that later. But for now, just create the fetch right here. And then I'm going to make sure the method is going to be a post request. And also the headers, let me just copy from the top right here. As you can see, just copy that. The headers, it should be content type application JSON. And then down here, we grab the data, cons data, set equals to the await for the response dot JSON. So now let's try to create the API. So inside the API folder, I'm going to create folder called use coins. And then inside that, I'm going to create road.ts. So in here, we are going to create post function. And then inside the post function, we have try and catch. Try and then catch, grab the error, and then just do like this. So the first thing is we need to get the user, come from the get current user, right? Just import that function from the lib/db. And then here we are going to check if the user.coins is less than coin to use. So coin to use is basically one. So I'm gonna say cons coin to use set equals to one, right? Because as you can see right here, coin to use is just one coin. So just put that right here, coin to use one is less than coin to use like this. So what I'm gonna do is let's just return not enough coin. So I just want to paste this really simple return. As you can see, return next response.json, and then the error it's a not enough coin, and then the status is 400. And also down here, so in here I'm going to run a wait for the Prisma dot I'm going to use transaction in here. So let's put dollars and then transactions like this. And then in setup, we need to put kind of like array. And then in here, we can do like prisma.user and then .update, for example. And then after that, we can do another operation like prisma dot maybe coin use, right, dot create. So any action inside a transaction, it should be success together. If one action is success and another is failed, it basically will cancel all the transactions. All right, so what we are going to do on the update is basically we need to make sure that we are going to say the user, it should be have ID that have same with the user.id. And also we are going to add this coin. So let's put data and then coins. And then in here, we need to decrement that coin, right? Because we use that coin. So let's do decrement and then let's put the coin to use, which is one in this case, right? So for the prisma.coin used right here, what we are going to do is we need to add new data basically. So here we can say Prisma coin use create, and then we can put data. So let's put data, and the data that we are going to put in here is user. Just make sure the user ID, it should be set equals to user.id, and also the coin use is basically coin to use, just like this. And then down here, let's try to say cons updated user set equals to wait for the prisma dot user dot find unique, right? And in here we need to make sure the id, it should be equals to user.id, just like this. And then finally under in here we need to return the next response.json, right, into, let's put the success to true. And then I'm going to set the remaining coins into updated user.coin, or just put 0 for the default value. And if something wrong happened on the catch right here, I just want to paste this really simple console error and this return next response.json. The error is going to be error using coins and the status is 500. All right, that's for the post request for the use coin. So let's go back in here and yep, we can use that right here, right? Now, basically we can check if the data is success, right? If the data.success is true, we're going to set the coin on the state right here into that remaining coins, right? Data.remaining coins. And the set message is one coin used successfully. And else set message is data.error or failed to use coins. Really simple. If something wrong happened, let's try to just console log this one right here, all right? Console error using coin, and put the error variables, and also set the message to failed to use coins. And then finally down here, I'm going to set the loading into false. And just make sure on the top we set the loading to true. On the top right here, set the loading is going to be set loading into true. So now let's try to use that coin. So in here, as you can see, we have 10 coin, right? If I refresh, of course, it's still 10. If I use one coin, what happened? As you can see, one coin used successfully, and now my coin is just 9 coin. If I use that again, as you can see, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then finally, as you can see here, we have 0. So now as you can see on the URL right here on the top, we still have this success equal to true. So basically after user redirect back to the success is true, after a couple seconds, it should be removed that parameters basically. So the way we do that is let's go to the use effect. I believe we have already have that right here, right? So the first thing is we need to get the value. So here I'm going to create search param variables, right? Search param is going to be set equals to new URL search params, and then paste the window.location.search. And also I'm going to paste this variable here. It's basically we'll check if the search param.getSuccess is true, it's going to be set this has success variable to true. If have cancel to true, it will make sure this variable has cancel is going to be have value true. So the first thing is I'm going to check if the has success have a value. We need to make sure the set message should be have payment successful, coin will be added to your soon. And else if the has cancel is true, it will set the message payment cancel. And then now here we need to clean up the URL. So let's do clean up the URL. So the way we clean up the URL is pretty simple. As you can see in here, first we need to check if the has success have a value or has cancel have a value. We need to first create new URL variable that have this window location string origin, and also we have this window location path name. All right, and also down here we need to make sure the window.history.replace state, it's basically will replace that all the URL right here into the document, into the new URL, right? Into the new URL right here. So let's try to refresh it, and now you will see the URL is just localhost 3000. So now let's try to buy another coin. So I'm gonna click the buy 10 coin right here. It will redirect me to the checkout of the Stripe, and then let's put just random email. I don't care about the values, and it's going to be 42, 42, 42. And then the date right here is doesn't really matter. Also the name is doesn't really matter. Let's try to click pay, and as you can see, it will redirect me to the localhost 3000, and as you can see, the parameter is going to be removed automatically. Pretty nice. So let's try to use one coin. As you can see, one coin used successfully, and the coin is decrement by 1. That's pretty nice, and I believe this is should be work perfectly fine. And I think we're done with this project, and I hope you can implement this coin system here to your SaaS application, and you will understand this is basically really simple to implement. So thank you so much for watching, guys. See you on the next one.